Let's talk about white supremacy, which is about the skin. Now, skin is the largest organ that the body has, and it protects us. As you see, we have skin all over us, okay? Sometimes we have excess skin, but we have skin to protect us. Now, let's do a little history here. When my first great grandmother came out of Africa, she stood upright. I believe, based on science, not religion, that we all came out of Africa with that concept. Now, you could believe how woman and man first came to be however you want. The fact is, men and women are here, okay? So you can have your story, how they first started, and this is my story. If you don't agree with it, tough, because I don't agree with your reasoning of why women and men are here. I go with science. When my first great-grandma stood upright, she did it because the environment was changing. There were less trees, and there was more grassland. And in order for her to protect her family and herself, she stood up so she could see over the grass and see the danger that was lurking in the tall grass. She could avoid it. I mean, it's a game changer for womankind and her partners, because we wouldn't be here today like this if she hadn't stood upright. So there's that. Like I said, you could disagree with me all you want. I don't really care, because this is what I believe in based on scientific fact. My ancestors lived out of Africa, and everybody else's ancestors out of Africa left. For whatever reason, when people stood upright, when humans stood upright, they were adventurous, and they went to pretty much every corner of the world. Some are in Australia. Australia has the oldest DNA because people came out of Africa, they went to Australia, then Australia was kind of separated from people. That DNA stayed intact with those people for thousands of years because there was no outside people that came there except the ones that originally left Africa and went to Australia. It's the same with the Americas, the native people here, the Pacific people, islanders. They went everywhere. People left Africa, went everywhere. That tells you that we were all on the scale of tone, for skin tone, we were all darker because we lived in an area where the sun was prominent. And in order for us to survive in a hot environment, our skin adapted to the weather and changed to protect us so we could go out into the sun and not get burned up. When you're out in the sun for a long period of time, the sun will jump on you, and you'll see when they say, "Oh, I'm tan," that's actually the sun burnt your skin. It's cooking you. That's what it does. It cooks. It's hot, and our skin adapts to the level of sunlight we get to protect us. If we didn't have dark skin at the beginning, there was no way we could have went out there and hunted for food, built shelters, or traveled, because we would have just burned up in the sun. So our skin is very adaptable, and like I said, the body is very amazing how it works like that. So here, my ancestors, I'll talk about my ancestors. You could talk about your own ancestors. My ancestors came out of Africa. For some reason, they headed up north. Their skin was darker because of the sun. And as they traveled up north, farther and farther away from that direct sun like that, their body adapted. And by the time they got up north, where there was no sunlight hardly, very limited sunlight, the skin adapted to the point that it lightened up to try to absorb sun, because we get vitamin D from the sun. So Our body was trying to absorb the sunlight, so it lightened its skin. We didn't need the protection from the sun. We needed the sun to come to us. That does not make us superior over any race. It does not. It does not make us superior over people that stayed closer to the equator, who continue to have darker skin because of an intense sun. That doesn't make anybody superior. This is a concept that a white man invented for his own ego, because apparently he felt that the only way that he could be better than another man was to say his skin tone, which was lighter, was superior to somebody that had a darker skin tone. And he convinced a lot of people of that. They're like, yeah, that's right, we are better. No, you're not. Nobody is superior because of your skin. That doesn't make you superior. So that's a myth that you could throw out the door. They could stand up there and say that they're superior, that they're the better race, their race is being diminished. Nah, that's not true. My DNA also shows African, but it's so small because it's so far back in my history that it's just like a little tiny speck. But you know what I did get from my great-grandma in Africa? I got the ability to tan without being burnt. I mean, Mom used to say when I was little, I was just as brown as could be when I was out in the sun. We didn't have suntan lotions or anything to put on. My body tanned. I had that protection from my grandma, great-grandma, my first great-grandma. She gave me that DNA so I could withstand sun a little longer than some of my counterparts that are also lighter skinned. My dad was like that too. You know, he'd be in the sun and he would get very dark in the sun. In fact, when he was in the field working, a lot of people thought he was a black man out there. And they even questioned my mom. Who do you have out there working on your farm, working out there in the farm? Who's that black man out there? And she said, well, that's my husband. They go, what? Because from a distance, my dad looked like he had African descent, but he didn't. At that point, he was considered a white man. That's the one myth. There's no white supremacy. There's just a bunch of weak individuals who think that the only way they could get an edge up on somebody is to say, oh, well, my skin is better than your skin. And there's no there's nothing to prove that. Nothing. It's just their mouth flapping like this. I'm better than you. So then they make groups to make them feel better. Yeah, we all feel like our skin is superior. No, it's not. It's not superior to anybody. Nobody should be afraid of somebody that says that they're light skinned because they're not superior. Okay? My DNA, after my people left Africa and they went up north, they stayed up there for thousands of years. And eventually, for whatever reason, they were on the move again, and they moved to Scotland through Germany, because I got a little DNA from Germany. So my current DNA is mostly Scottish and English. I got a little Irish, a little Wales, a little Swedish, and German. That's my current DNA. That's what's up front.